Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Edward Tirtanata. I'm the founder and CEO of Kopi Kenangan, Southeast Asia first F&B unicorn. But today, I'm not here to tell you a success story. It's quite the opposite, actually. I'm here to tell you what happens after the world stops clapping. And this is what the world sees today. So today, Kopi Kenangan is the number one coffee chain in Indonesia. We command over 1,300 stores across 6 different countries, ranging from India, Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, and so forth. And we plan to add 2 to 3 more countries every year on top of that. And right now, today, according to the latest Kantar research, we have the top of mind across different coffee brands in Indonesia. We are Southeast Asia's first F&B unicorn. Our face was literally on NASDAQ billboard in Times Square in 2021. It's quite impressive, right? Especially considering that, I didn't have a coffee background, I didn't have a coding background, but we were able to achieve all that in just 9 years. But behind every number on this slide, there is a story of a near collapse, and I want to tell you the real story. But before that, it actually starts with a kid trading Pokemon card. So, I grew up in a pretty entrepreneurial upbringing. Both my mom, my dad are entrepreneurs, right? And my earliest business, inspired by my parents, was actually to trade Pokemon cards. And after trading Pokemon cards, I actually even traded, Ragnarok Bot is another game from many years ago. I don't know whether people still play that. And on top of that, after I graduated from school, I straight away become an entrepreneur. I tried mining, I tried selling garments in Tanah Abang, I tried to become a consultant, but I can tell you that none of them scaled up. To me, I consider them as a failure, considering that my ambition is to build a legacy. People are different, people have different purpose, people have different drive, and for me, my drive is to build a legacy. So, learning from those failures, right? It shaped me. It shaped me in building Kopi Kenangan to where it is today, right? I don't want to just sell things. Most of my life prior to Kopi Kenangan is just trying to buy $1 and sell for 2. But real business, real legacy is not built by simply trading. I think it's built by having a vision. And in Kopi Kenangan's case, our vision is to export Indonesian coffee not as a commodity, but as a brand. So that's how Kopi Kenangan was born, right? And I would say that, after all of those, right, we raised a lot of capital. I think in total we raised close to 270 million, right? From Sequoia, Jay-Z, Serena Williams. The media loved us, right? Everything looked perfect. But that leads to a question I had to answer. Are you building a house to flip or are you building a house to live in? Those are 2 very different things, right? If you're building a house to flip, you're a housing developer, obviously you would not pick more durable materials because you are just building it to flip. Or are you building a house to actually live in? I just built my own apartment house and I pick materials that last, materials that will endure. And if you're building a company, it is actually quite a similar journey, right? Are you building the company just to sell it eventually? Or are you building the company so that it will be an enduring legacy, right? So throughout my journey, right, obviously a lot of people believe in the hype, right? That's why a lot of people invested in Kopi Kenangan. But then obviously with a valuation, with a headline, it comes responsibility. It comes with the responsibility to actually build the company, right? And that is why throughout my whole journey, I chose purpose. Purpose to actually build a company that endures. So we talk about all the good things that Kopi Kenangan is today, but actually throughout my journey, there was the fall and the fog, right? It all started when the pandemic COVID-19 hits. A lot of people say that COVID-19 pandemic is an existential crisis to the hospitality industry, Kopi Kenangan included. That is why from our profitable 2019, we turned unprofitable almost overnight, right? And the losses did not stop. It grew actually year on year. Despite all that, actually in 2021, we were still able to raise $96 million, and that puts us at a unicorn valuation. But even though it sounds like a victory, actually our numbers did not tell that story, right? Especially at the back of inflation and the end of zero interest rate, actually a lot of the story and the hype started to dwindle down. And on top of that, fundamentally in our business, consumers started to not buy from Kopi Kenangan. And on top of that, to make matters worse, we had an FMCG business, and that business actually stalled as well because our partners was sabotaging our business. And to make matters worse, back then in 2022, a lot of food aggregators, including Shopee, Grab, Gojek, started to decline as well. And back then, actually 80-90% of our business consists of food aggregators. And that is why between 2021 to 2023, it was a very tough period for us, right? So if you see the numbers in the next slide, so if you see the numbers, it's brutal, right? If you think about it, between 2021 and 2023, our accumulated loss is close to 700 billion rupiah. Imagine yourself in my position. You are the CEO of a company with a $1 billion valuation. However, you're accumulating close to 700 billion of losses. It's brutal. Emotionally, it was the hardest time of my life, right? And despite that emotional turbulence, I had to actually make it back, right? I had to actually turn it around. But unfortunately, my first trial, my first attempt to make Kopi Kenangan profitable again was completely wrong, right? What I was focusing on in 2022, instead of fixing the fundamental, I was desperate for a turnaround, right? First thing I did, I was chasing M&A, right? Because for many of the startup, if your numbers are not there, a lot of people will encourage you to just buy your own profit and revenue. Hence, I was, going around the town and I was trying to find M&A. I was trying to find a company to buy, ranging from like burger company and all the way to, a cake company. I looked at a lot of companies that actually did not matter to our future, right? And then on top of that, we did FMCG expansion as well, right? I doubled down on marketing. I overinvested in the marketing, and as a result, losses ballooned in our FMCG business, right? And on top of that, even for our retail business, we were chasing new brands. We were building a fried chicken company, we bought a burger brand, and then we made Satu Kenangan, Kenangan Heritage, Kenangan Signature. Those that don't actually matter to our overall vision and fundamental, right? So every one of those moves really took the focus, the money, and the management bandwidth from what actually mattered. But thankfully, after all those years of being lost, I learned a lot of things, right? I never waste a good crisis, and this crisis in particular had a gift for me, if you are willing to accept it, right? When all the ego fades, when the noises stops, right, you are left with one question: what actually matters in your business? And the answer was painfully simple. You don't need more money. You don't need better valuation. You need more focus in your core business. So, coming back again to our vision, right? Our vision has not changed actually. Maybe it deviated away for a while, but we realized that at the end of the day, we want to become the #1 coffee company in Southeast Asia. I just needed to stop doing everything else, from fried chicken all the way to selling burger, right? So I did a hard reset, right? I cut very, very deeply into the P&L, right? Because back then our G&A balloon, it was 27% of our revenue, right? Global standard should be single-digit percentage, right? So we cut every single cost line. I looked at everything, even from tissue all the way to like your milk, your coffee, everything I scrutinize and make sure that we are disciplined in terms of costs, right? Because at the end of the day, how do you run a business? You increase revenue and you cut costs. It's as simple as that, and that is the playbook that always matters no matter what company are you in, right? As a result, unfortunately, half of our management team left, right, because of the austerity measure.
The pressure, the change of direction is not something that is suitable for them. But thankfully, for those who held the line, I'm eternally grateful to them, and I owe them everything, and they are the reason behind the turnaround in Kopi Kenangan. On top of that, we killed all the non-core businesses, right? We still have a fried chicken and burger business, but it's pretty much left just to be where it is today, right? We are not trying to grow it. We don't put management bandwidth into it, right? We just focus on one thing, which is growing Kopi Kenangan again, right? And this is exactly the problem to startups in Indonesia. Back then, in 2021, a lot of people are flush with money, and having that money, startup founders started chasing your 7th, 8th best idea. Instead of focusing on 2 to 3 things that matter, you started chasing 7, 8 different things at once, right? And that is exactly what we try not to be, and that is why we focus on 3 key pillars in our strategy. Number 1 is we come back to the stores again. I visited a lot of stores in 2024, 2025. I went all the way to Parepare, to Aceh, to Tulung Agung, just to make sure that the stores are convenient, the stores are comfortable for our customers. We practically rebuilt our entire store from scratch, right? And then we doubled down all the management bandwidth. Instead of focusing on many different things at once, we just focus on one brand, Kopi Kenangan, make sure that people have a good cup of coffee and it has a comfortable store and is near the customers as well. And on top of that, as mentioned, we want to export Indonesian coffee as a brand, not as a commodity. So we went international to Malaysia, to Singapore, and other countries as well. So this is what happened after we found our focus back. Our group revenue in 2024 hit $127 million and $184 million in 2025. If you see our profit over there, right? Our net income is more than 400 billion in the is close to 300 billion in the year of 2025, right? So we came back, right? We're profitable again, right? And by the end of 2025, we had 1,200 stores, and we aim to have 1,800 stores by the end of 2026, nearly double from where we were 2 years ago. And we didn't just grow, but we grew profitably. So the proof is really in the number. As mentioned, we have 1,300 stores today, right? We plan to add 500 stores this year, more than 1 store per day. Our triple SG is 15%, and then our net income was 270 billion in 2025. And we plan to add 2 more countries today. So it's a fundamentally very different business in 2022, right? Where we are accumulating losses, right now we are accumulating profit. This is the power of focus. And I would like to end this with a quote, right? Calvin Coolidge said it best: "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb." Throughout my journey, I've met so many talented founders, people much, much smarter than me, right? But a lot of them actually didn't make it. And why? Simply because they don't have the grit, they don't have the persistence, they don't have the focus, right? That is the biggest difference between a successful and an unsuccessful founder. Grit is not just stubbornness, it's determination, it's clarity of purpose, plus persistence. Discipline and sustained action, day after day, month after month, year after year. You never waste a good crisis, because crisis is where grit is forged. I would like to give you a warning as well, right? Andy Grove, the legendary CEO of Intel, wrote, "Only paranoid survive," and he was right. If you guys remember BlackBerry, it was a 19.9 billion revenue, gone, replaced by WhatsApp. Nokia, 1 billion user, the most dominant phone brand in history, wiped out by iPhone and Android. Yahoo, a $125 billion company, their founders were offered the chance to buy Google at $1 million. They refused. So you need to remember that, and you cannot be complacent, right? One, you need grit, and second, you cannot be complacent. Because in 2019, Kopi Kenangan was doing well, but we ended up accumulating loss for the next 3 years, right? Because we were complacent, because we thought we are ahead, right? But at the end of the day, execution matters and you need to be paranoid. Complacency is fatal. It doesn't matter how big you are. It doesn't matter how successful you have been. And I would like to end with a question to you guys. What are you too comfortable with today? And I'll tell you my answer, it's nothing. Because even if Kenangan is profitable again, I know the journey is still far. I know I'm not complacent. I know I'm working every day, brick by brick, store by store, cup by cup. And I'm standing here today because I stand at the opposite of comfort every single day. I hustle in the face of uncertainty, and I try to be a better founder today than where I was yesterday. So I think my time is almost up, but I would like to end with another quote, right, by George Bernard Shaw. All progress depends on the unreasonable man. Even when the tasks feel unsurmountable, a true founder will always be unreasonable. He will always choose to build the world around his vision, not the other way around. So for those of you here today, the young generation of Indonesia, you have to believe in your vision. You have to sometimes be unreasonable, right? Think about it. Kopi Kenangan started off as one small booth in Kuningan, and we had the vision to be number one in Indonesia. Most people laugh, but I believe in my vision. I put grit into it, and I don't have complacency inside our DNA, inside Kopi Kenangan. So, what does a founder do? Founder builds with grit, without complacency, and having that clear vision and purpose. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to me.